for next season. Objective number one, of course, for the players and the manager, Sean Dyche. Of course, in their traditional royal blue shirts, white shorts and white socks. Newcastle's change strip. With 3 changes following their first Premier League win of the season at home to Crystal Palace last weekend. 2 of those coming in defence as Michael Keane and James Garner come in place of Jared Branthwaite and Vitar Mikalenko. James Tarkowski, Ashley Young and Jordan Pickford make up the Toffees' back 5. Oriol Mangala and Abdoulaye Doucouré hold together the midfield, and it's a start for Jack Harrison over Jesper Lindstrom alongside the informed Dwight McNeil, Iliman Ndiaye and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Newcastle picked up a 1-1 draw against Manchester City last weekend in a real positive for the Magpies, and an ongoing injury crisis on Tyneside means that it's an unchanged starting 11 as Eddie Howe looks to get himself to the other side of the international break. Nick Pope, after making his 200th Premier League appearance last weekend, keeps his place in goal. It's a back 4 of Kieran Trippier, Fabian Schär, Dan Burn and Lewis Hall, Joe Linton, Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes in midfield, and it is Jacob Murphy, Harvey Barnes and the former Toffee star Anthony Gordon in attack for the visitors. And as mentioned, before we get rolling here at Goodison Park, we can take a spin through the results from earlier on today. Liverpool remain top of the Premier League table. Diogo Jota's first Premier League goal against Diogo Jota's first half Premier League goal, giving them space at the top. There was another late rally for Arsenal as they picked up a 3-1 win at home to Southampton. 8 goals as Brentford beat Wolves 5-3. Leicester City's first Premier League win of the season. Facundo Buonanote's winner against Bournemouth. Manchester City left it late at home to Fulham as they won 3-2 at the Etihad Stadium. And it's more misery for the Tractor Boys as Ipswich lost 4-1 away at West Ham. So that brings you up to date with the Premier League goings on from the early kick-off at Selhurst Park and a big bundle of action in the 3 p.m. games. But for this evening, it is all about the blue side of Merseyside. The final campaign, of course, here at Goodison Park as Everton prepare to bid farewell to their long-term home. And they're not going too far, of course. The Bramley Moore Stadium down on the River Mersey will be their new home for next season. Everton switch possession over to this near left-hand side, and Ashley Young in field to Oriol Mangala. Back in the Premier League this season, of course, Mangala. He was with Nottingham Forest during the previous campaign. Dyche completing a late loan move from Lyon to bring him back to English football. Jordan Pickford just holds up a hand of apology to Dominic Calvert-Lewin there. He tried to spring the Everton striker with a long ball up field, but it eventually just squirms out of play for a throw-in. So Newcastle was Kieran Trippier will take. That's a poor ball around the corner for Bruno Guimaraes, but Newcastle do well to wing it back. Jacob Murphy back inside his own half, working hard, finds Joe Linton, on to Harvey Barnes now, he'll run it, James Garner blocked initially by Tarkowski. Keane gets across on the edge of the 6-yard line. Newcastle will keep it alive though on that far left-hand side. Garner goes toe-to-toe again with Barnes, backed up this time by Joe Linton. Hall, Gilmore Rice tries to spin away from Dwight McNeil, just about manages to keep possession though, the Brazilian. Tenale will step in to help. Lewis Hall trying to keep the pressure going for Newcastle on that far left-hand side. Good link up between the two Brazilians, Gilmore Rice and Joe Linton. Dinked over to Trippier, who's forward from right back. Cross is cleared, only halfway though by Tarkowski. Newcastle looking to turn the screw early on here. Trippier forward from right back, just tried to tease that into the feet of Jacob Murphy, but Ashley Young gets a foot in and Iliman and Dye will drop in to lend a hand. Now Young up to the halfway line towards Calvert-Lewin. He'll battle away though with Fabian Schär. Does well to find and die. Lovely feet there from the Everton number 10, just to step over the halfway line for the Toffees. Mangala now. Been a real breath of fresh air this season at Iliman Ndiaye. Brought in from Ligue 1 side Marseille. Real throwback of a dribbler and a driving winger. He's got himself off the mark for Everton as well with a nice goal. Scored against Leicester earlier this month. But it's his tricks and skill out wide that's really caught the eye. And Pickford will just step forward there, call for calm, and then fire that downfield. That's a lovely ball into the path of Jack Harrison. Just couldn't quite feed it into Dwight McNeil. Good recovery back inside the Newcastle box by Gilmore Rice. He'll tangle with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Great pressure there from the Everton striker on the dead ball line to force Gilmore Rice into an error, and Doucouré will just stick his studs on the ball here midway inside the Newcastle half of the field, try and get Everton back into a bit of structure. Michael Keane now to Ashley Young, who's trying to tiptoe his way forward into the Newcastle half of the field, and he spied the run of Calvert-Lewin in behind, but he'll be jockeyed into the box by Fabian Schär. Now McNeil. Young thought about the blaster from distance, but it's a rather delayed offside flag over on that far side, and he'll be pulled back for a free kick to Newcastle. The flag eventually raised against Calvert-Lewin. Just went a fraction too early there as he tried to zip in behind Fabian Schär. Despite the reputation of being incredibly difficult to play against and break down at home this season, victory against Palace last weekend was a rare bright spark here for Everton this season. They were knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Southampton back in September. That infamous 3-2 loss to Bournemouth at the end of August, when the Cherries scored 3 goals in the final few minutes, and an opening day defeat to Brighton has meant that's home and away. It's been a tough start to the campaign for the Toffees, but things are slowly looking up. The Friedkin Group's buyout is reportedly close to completion. As Calvert-Lewin just tries to sneak in round the back there, and almost a half chance for the England striker. Again, flag was late up against him. He tried a pretty unorthodox scissor kick as Nick Pope came out to him. Completely convinced that he was beyond the final man there. I think effectively the play was stopped for a high boot on Kieran Trippier rather than offside. Trippier had just dropped a little deeper to keep Calvert-Lewin onside, but he was caught by the Everton striker. Now Newcastle will try and switch that from back to front quickly. Tarkowski will go across to win from Harvey Barnes. Does well to prevent the corner there, Tarkowski, but and the referee has gone against the Everton captain in the end. And it will be a corner to Newcastle. First of the game over on that far left-hand side. It's going to be Trippier to jog over to take. I'm sure don't have to remind anybody who'll be tuning into this game that Anthony Gordon was always going to get some choice treatment from the home fans, and he certainly is in the opening 10 minutes here. That corner eventually finds its way across to Gilmore Rice, blocked on the line by Ndiaye. Right place, right time from Everton's number 10. Trippier's corner came all the way across to the far post. Guimaraes did well to keep it down, but Ndiaye gets back in behind his goalkeeper. I don't think he knew too much about that as he stuck out a leg. Possibly fortunate not to deflect that in. But the Everton goal survives. Corner comes in again from Trippier. Punched away this time by Jordan Pickford. Murphy will hang that back into the box and Pickford will come and get two hands on it this time. Inches away there for Bruno Guimaraes. Yet to score a Premier League goal so far this season, the Brazilian. Very, very close there to breaking the deadlock. And Ndiaye stuck to his task as Everton didn't really get that one away. With three changes following their first Premier League win of the season at home to Crystal Palace last weekend. Two of those coming in defence as Michael Keane and James Garner come in place of Jared Branthwaite and Vitar Mikalenko. James Tarkowski, Ashley Young and Jordan Pickford make up the Toffees back five. Oriol Mangala and Abdoulaye Doucouré hold together the midfield, and it's a start for Jack Harrison over Jesper Lindstrom alongside the informed Dwight McNeil, Iliman Ndiaye and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Newcastle picked up a 1-1 draw against Manchester City last weekend in a real positive for the Magpies, and an ongoing injury crisis on Tyneside means that it's an unchanged starting 11 as Eddie Howe looks to get himself to the other side of the international break. Nick Pope, after making his 200th Premier League appearance last weekend, keeps his place in goal. It's a back four of Kieran Trippier, Fabian Schär, Dan Burn and Lewis Hall, Joe Linton, Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes in midfield. And it is Jacob Murphy, Harvey Barnes and the former Toffee star Anthony Gordon in attack for the visitors. And as mentioned, before we get rolling here at Goodison Park, we can take a spin through the results from earlier on today. Liverpool remain top of the Premier League table. Diogo Jota's first Premier League goal against Diogo Jota's first half Premier League goal, giving them space at the top. There was another late rally for Arsenal as they picked up a 3-1 win at home to Southampton. 8 goals as Brentford beat Wolves 5-3. Leicester City's first Premier League win of the season. Facundo Buonanote's winner against Bournemouth. Manchester City left it late at home to Fulham as they won 3-2 at the Etihad Stadium. And it's more misery for the Tractor Boys as Ipswich lost 4-1 away at West Ham. So that brings you up to date with the Premier League goings on from the early kick-off at Selhurst Park and a big bundle of action in the 3 p.m. games. But for this evening, it is all about the blue side of Merseyside. The final campaign, of course, here at Goodison Park as Everton prepare to bid farewell to their long-term home. And they're not going too far, of course. The Bramley Moore Stadium down on the River Mersey will be their new home. Everton switch possession over to this near left-hand side, and Ashley Young in field to Oriol Mangala. Back in the Premier League this season, of course, Mangala. He was with Nottingham Forest during the previous campaign. Deitch completing a late loan move from Lyon to bring him back to English football. Jordan Pickford just holds up a hand of apology to Dominic Calvert-Lewin there. He tried to spring the Everton striker with a long ball up field, but it eventually just squirms out of play for a throw-in. So Newcastle, was Kieran Trippier will take. That's a poor ball around the corner for Bruno Guimaraes, but Newcastle do well to wing it back. Jacob Murphy back inside his own half, working hard, finds Joe Linton, on to Harvey Barnes now, he'll run it, James Garner, blocked initially by Tarkowski. Keane gets across on the edge of the 6-yard line. Newcastle will keep it alive though on that far left hand side. Garner goes toe to toe again with Barnes, backed up this time by Joe Linton. Hall, Guimaraes tries to spin away from Dwight McNeil, just about manages to keep possession though, the Brazilian. Tonale will step in to help. Lewis Hall trying to keep the pressure going for Newcastle on that far left hand side. Good link up between the two Brazilians, Guimaraes and Joe Linton. Dinked over to Trippier, who's forward from right back. Cross is cleared only halfway though by Tarkowski. Newcastle looking to turn the screw early on here. Trippier forward from right back, just tried to tease that into the feet of Jacob Murphy, but Ashley Young gets a foot in and Iliman Ndiaye will drop in to lend a hand. Now Young up to the halfway line towards Calvert-Lewin. He'll battle away though with Fabian Schär. Does well to find Ndiaye. Lovely feet there from the Everton number 10, just to step over the halfway line for the Toffees. Mangala now. Been a real breath of fresh air this season. Iliman Ndiaye, brought in from Ligue 1 side Marseille. Real throwback of a dribbler and a driving winger. He's got himself off the mark for Everton as well with a nice goal. Scored against Leicester earlier this month. But it's his tricks and skill out wide that's really caught the eye. And Pickford will just step forward there, call for calm, and then fire that downfield. That's a lovely ball into the path of Jack Harrison. Just couldn't quite feed it into Dwight McNeil. Good recovery back inside the Newcastle box by Guimaraes. He'll tangle with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Great pressure there from the Everton striker on the dead ball line to force Guimaraes into an error, and Doucouré will just stick his studs on the ball here midway inside the Newcastle half of the field, try and get Everton back into a bit of structure. Michael Keane now to Ashley Young, who's trying to tiptoe his way forward into the Newcastle half of the field, and he spied the run of Calvert-Lewin in behind, but he'll be jockeyed into the box by Fabian Schär. Now McNeil. Young thought about the blaster from distance, but it's a rather delayed offside flag over on that far side, and he'll be pulled back for a free kick to Newcastle. The flag eventually raised against Calvert-Lewin. Just went a fraction too early there as he tried to zip in behind Fabian Schär. Despite the reputation of being incredibly difficult to play against and break down at home this season, victory against Palace last weekend was a rare bright spark here for Everton this season. They were knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Southampton back in September. That infamous 3-2 loss to Bournemouth at the end of August, when the Cherries scored 3 goals in the final few minutes, and an opening day defeat to Brighton has meant that's home and away. It's been a tough start to the campaign for the Toffees, but things are slowly looking up. The Friedkin Group's buyout is reportedly close to completion. As Calvert-Lewin just tries to sneak in round the back there, and almost a half chance for the England striker. Again, flag was late up against him. He tried a pretty unorthodox scissor kick as Nick Pope came out to him. Completely convinced that he was beyond the final man there. I think effectively the play was stopped for a high boot on Kieran Trippier rather than offside. Trippier had just dropped a little deeper to keep Calvert-Lewin onside, but he was caught by the Everton striker. Now Newcastle will try and switch that from back to front quickly. Tarkowski will go across to win from Harvey Barnes. Does well to prevent the corner there, Tarkowski, but the referee has gone against the Everton captain in the end, and it will be a corner to Newcastle. First of the game over on that far left-hand side. It's going to be Trippier to jog over to take. I'm sure don't have to remind anybody who'll be tuning into this game that Anthony Gordon was always going to get some choice treatment from the home fans. And he certainly is in the opening 10 minutes here. That corner eventually finds its way across to Guimaraes, blocked on the line by Ndiaye. Right place, right time from Everton's number 10. Trippier's corner came all the way across to the far post. Guimaraes did well to keep it down, but Ndiaye gets back in behind his goalkeeper. I don't think you know too much about that as he stuck out a leg. Possibly fortunate not to deflect that in. But the Everton goal survives. Corner comes in again from Trippier. Punched away this time by Jordan Pickford. Murphy will hang that back into the box and Pickford will come and get two hands on it this time. Inches away there for Bruno Guimaraes. Yet to score a Premier League goal so far this season, the Brazilian. Very, very close there to breaking the deadlock. Pretty vocal in the reasons why he made the move to Tyneside, as he wants to win more trophies, but he's at the top. It was another late rally for Arsenal as they picked up a 3-1 win at home to Southampton. 8 goals as Brentford beat Wolves 5-3. Leicester City's first Premier League win of the season. Facundo Buonanotte's winner against Bournemouth. Manchester City left it late at home to Fulham as they won 3-2 at the Etihad Stadium. And it's more misery for the Tractor Boys as Ipswich lost 4-1 away at West Ham. So that brings you up to date with the Premier League goings on from the early kick-off at Selhurst Park and a big bundle of action in the 3 p.m. games. But for this evening, it is all about the blue side of Merseyside. The final campaign, of course, here at Goodison Park as Everton prepare to bid farewell to their long-term home. And they're not going too far, of course. The Bramley Moore Stadium down on the River Mersey will be their new home. Everton switch possession over to this near left-hand side, and Ashley Young infield to Oriol Mangala. Back in the Premier League this season, of course, Mangala. He was with Nottingham Forest during the previous campaign. Deitch completing a late loan move from Lyon to bring him back to English football. Jordan Pickford just holds up a hand of apology to Dominic Calvert-Lewin there. He tried to spring the Everton striker with a long ball up field, but it eventually just squirms out of play for a throw-in. So Newcastle, was Kieran Trippier will take. That's a poor ball around the corner for Bruno Guimaraes, but Newcastle do well to wing it back. Jacob Murphy back inside his own half, working hard, finds Joe Linton, on to Harvey Barnes now, he'll run it, James Garner, blocked initially by Tarkowski. Keane gets across on the edge of the 6-yard line. Newcastle will keep it alive though on that far left hand side. Garner goes toe to toe again with Barnes, backed up this time by Joe Linton. Hall, Guimaraes tries to spin away from Dwight McNeil, just about manages to keep possession though, the Brazilian. Tonale will step in to help. Lewis Hall trying to keep the pressure going for Newcastle on that far left-hand side. Good link up between the two Brazilians, Guimaraes and Joe Linton. Dinked over to Trippier, who's forward from right back. Cross is cleared, only halfway though by Tarkowski. Newcastle looking to turn the screw early on here. Trippier forward from right back, just tried to tease that into the feet of Jacob Murphy, but Ashley Young gets a foot in and Iliman Ndiaye will drop in to lend a hand. Now Young up to the halfway line towards Calvert-Lewin. He'll battle away though with Fabian Schär. Does well to find Ndiaye. Lovely feet there from the Everton number 10 just to step over the halfway line for the Toffees. Mangala now. Been a real breath of fresh air this season at Iliman Ndiaye. Brought in from Ligue 1 side Marseille. Real throwback of a dribbler and a driving winger. He's got himself off the mark for Everton as well with a nice goal. Scored against Leicester earlier this month. But it's his tricks and skill out wide that's really caught the eye. And Pickford will just step forward there, call for calm, and then fire that downfield. That's a lovely ball into the path of Jack Harrison, just couldn't quite feed it into Dwight McNeil. Good recovery back inside the Newcastle box by Guimaraes. He'll tangle with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Great pressure there from the Everton striker on the dead ball line to force Guimaraes into an error, and Doucouré will just stick his studs on the ball here, midway inside the Newcastle half of the field, try and get Everton back into a bit of structure. Michael Keane now into Ashley Young, who's trying to tiptoe his way forward into the Newcastle half of the field, and he spied the run of Calvert-Lewin in behind, but he'll be jockeyed into the box by Fabian Schär. Now McNeil. Young thought about the blaster from distance, but it's a rather delayed offside flag over on that far side, and he'll be pulled back for a free kick to Newcastle. The flag eventually raised against Calvert-Lewin. Just went a fraction too early there as he tried to zip in behind Fabian Schär. Despite the reputation of being incredibly difficult to play against and break down at home this season, victory against Palace last weekend was a rare bright spark here for Everton this season. They were knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Southampton back in September. That infamous 3-2 loss to Bournemouth at the end of August, when the Cherries scored 3 goals in the final few minutes, and an opening day defeat to Brighton has meant that's home and away. It's been a tough start to the campaign for the Toffees, but things are slowly looking up. The Friedkin Group's buyout is reportedly close to completion. As Calvert-Lewin just tries to sneak in round the back there, and almost a half chance for the England striker. Again, flag was late up against him. He tried a pretty unorthodox scissor kick as Nick Pope came out to him. Completely convinced that he was beyond the final man there. I think effectively the play was stopped for a high boot on Kieran Trippier rather than offside. Trippier had just dropped a little deeper to keep Calvert-Lewin onside, but he was caught by the Everton striker. Now Newcastle will try and switch that from back to front quickly. Tarkowski will go across to win from Harvey Barnes. Does well to prevent the corner there, Tarkowski, but and the referee has gone against the Everton captain in the end. And it will be a corner to Newcastle. First of the game over on that far left-hand side. It's going to be Trippier to jog over to take. I'm sure don't have to remind anybody who'll be tuning into this game that Anthony Gordon was always going to get some choice treatment from the home fans, and he certainly is in the opening 10 minutes here. That corner eventually finds its way across to Guimaraes, blocked on the line by Ndiaye. Right place, right time from Everton's number 10. Trippier's corner came all the way across to the far post. Guimaraes did well to keep it down, but Ndiaye gets back in behind his goalkeeper. I don't think you know too much about that as he stuck out a leg. Possibly fortunate not to deflect that in. But the Everton goal survives. Corner comes in again from Trippier. Punched away this time by Jordan Pickford. Murphy will hang that back into the box, and Pickford will come and get 2 hands on it this time. Inches away there for Bruno Guimaraes. Yet to score a Premier League goal so far this season, the Brazilian. Very, very close there to breaking the deadlock. Bog into up towards the halfway line down the Newcastle right. Finds that big switch, and there's acres of space over on the far left hand side for Harvey Barnes to go into. Jack Harrison will track him into the box. Barnes lifts it in. It's Ashley Young who gets there at the back post. That'll be a corner to Newcastle. Young claiming that he didn't get the shout, that he had time there. He did have a moment if he was able to hook that and nod it back down to Pickford. Safety first from the veteran, though. Could be a corner to Newcastle, down the right-hand side this time, though. It's going to be Trippier again to take for the Magpies. The fourth corner of the game, played short to Murphy. Murphy will try and curl one. Flies past the post. Pickford happy to wave that one behind. Everton a bit slow getting out to close that down between Trippier and Murphy. Tonali ended up on the ground. Pulled over by James Tarkowski. The Newcastle players had a fairly half-hearted claim. Don't think that one will be reviewed by Pawson, but there was a hell of a shirt pull in the middle of all that. Tonali back up on his feet now, though. Yet to score a Premier League goal since his return from suspension, the Italian international. We are being told that this will in fact be reviewed by VAR. Craig Pawson initially stating that he didn't see anything untoward, but the word from Stockley Park is that this will be checked. Chris Kavanagh and Harry Leonard on VAR duty today, and the word has come through to Pawson that he might need to take a look at this. We've been shown a handful of replays here, and there's certainly a pull from James Tarkowski. He got Tonali by the collar as they waited for that corner to come in. And Pawson is being called to the monitor. And my instinct here is that this will be given. And for my money, that could mean Anthony Gordon on penalty duty back here at Goodison. Now we will just wait a moment to see if Craig Pawson does give the spot kick. The more times we've been shown this, the more conclusive it looks. Tarkowski just pulls Tonali to the floor there as they try to battle for position inside the 18-yard box. Anthony Gordon, of course, scored from the spot against Man City last weekend. And if that is given, it will be Gordon against Pickford at Goodison, and it is a penalty to Newcastle. Real drama here. Sean Dyche with a shake of the head on the sideline. I don't think he can have too many complaints about that if he's shown a replay of the incident. Tarkowski in conversation with Pickford. And this is a huge moment in the game. 33 minutes gone. Gordon has the ball in his hand here as Tarkowski tries to delay the taking of it with an argument with Craig Pawson. He's not going to change his mind here. Anthony Gordon with a knowing little nod there. Nobody is taking this away from him. The Newcastle player is just trying to protect their number 10 as he goes through his penalty process. All eyes on the former Toffee. Deep breath from Anthony Gordon. He's certainly taking his time over this. I watched an interview with him recently where he said he never rushes a penalty. He has his process, he has his way of doing things. Can he find the net back at Goodison? Gordon against Pickford. Craig Pawson blows his whistle. Another deep breath from Gordon. Here we go. Gordon against Pickford, and it's saved by Jordan Pickford. Down to his left, and he punches it behind for a corner. A huge huge moment for the England #1. And Anthony Gordon, back on Merseyside, is denied by Pickford. The Everton fans giving Gordon a piece of their mind. It's actually his leg that it came off in the end, Jordan Pickford. He guessed the right way, got his body behind it. Not the greatest penalty from Anthony Gordon. And the Everton fans behind that goal, celebrating it as if it went into the back of the net by an Everton player. Brilliant save from Pickford, unorthodox, but it gets the job done. And Gordon is denied. Corner cleared away at the near post by Calvert-Lewin. The Everton fans revved up now. I always felt there was going to be a big moment involving Anthony Gordon here today. They don't come much bigger than that. Penalty in front of the Gladys Street. Cleared away by Pickford all the way through to Pope, and Pope will just pump that back into the Everton half of the field. Free kick given away though. Guimaraes fouled. Huge attention now on Anthony Gordon and how he reacts to this. He's never missed a senior penalty. Taken 7 previously. 5 for Everton. Oh, sorry, rather 5 in his 7 in his career, including underage football. His 2 senior penalties, both for Newcastle, prior to that miss, finding the back of the net. So 2 scored, 1 missed. He's back in the action there again. Gordon fouled inside the centre circle. Newcastle will take the free kick quickly. Tonali. Newcastle enjoying some possession again inside the Everton half, and Gordon slipped off the ball there. All the focus on the Newcastle number 10. And if Everton get to the break still at 0-0 or potentially even in front, there'll be some noise directed towards him as he makes his way off the field. But there's a few minutes to go until we get to the break. Here's Fabian Schär with space to bomb forward from right back. Again, tries that switch over to the left-hand side. Barnes the target, and Joelinton will help it onto him. Didn't quite read the run of Barnes this time, and Garner will jockey him out to the far touchline. Joelinton goes back to support. Barnes wants to cut in on that right foot to try and find a little dink. Does well to find Hall. Falls for Gordon. Chance for Gordon. Cleared away by James Tarkowski. Good feet there from Gordon to get away from Michael Keane, but Tarkowski was quickly on the scene to clear up. Everton captain bailing out his centre-back partner there. Keane just got too tight to Gordon. It can be a free kick to the home side just outside their own box here, and Dye goes down in a heap. Will be the dominant talking point here at Goodison Park at the half-time. Anthony Gordon missing his big chance. Kieran Trippier will just battle away there with Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the dead ball line for Newcastle. Ball clipped back in, but it will just drift out for a Newcastle goal kick. Five minutes of the first 45 to go. Here's Tonali, centrally inside his own half of the field, finds Kieran Trippier. Tonali will try and burst forward down the Newcastle right. Thought about the first time cross, whips it in. Headed away by Tarkowski, picked up by Joelinton. Space for him on the edge of the Everton 18-yard box now. Back to Tonali on this near right-hand side. He'll try and make an angle into Gordon. Good control from Anthony Gordon to keep it away from Doucouré. Newcastle just carouselling it over to that left-hand side, and Hall will bomb beyond Harvey Barnes. Corner to Newcastle. Garner goes to the ground. Plenty of attention on James Tarkowski again, I'd imagine, here. Will it be Tonali that he picks up again, I wonder? Does look to be. The unusual decision of Ashley Young marking Dan Burn, but we'll see how that works out. Trippier with the corner, punched away by Pickford. Murphy just volleys it back out to that left-hand side towards Trippier, but Gordon gets there first. Gordon will hang it back into the box. Good header there from Michael Keane. Joelinton just clatters that one over the crossbar. Jordan Pickford will get us back underway. A real difficult game to call this in recent meetings. The last 4 Goodison Park battles have brought up 2 wins each. Everton winning 3-0 here last season. McNeil, Doucouré and Beto on target, but it was a polar opposite in the previous campaign. Newcastle 4-1 winners. Very, very difficult to predict how we're going to end up this evening. The long ball played forward by Kieran Trippier, but Tarkowski beats Gordon to it on the edge of the Everton box even. Now Calvert-Lewin tries to get Everton moving over the halfway line. McNeil can't quite take that pass in his stride, and Hall will eventually just see that back to Nick Pope. Spied on the sideline there. 4th official Tim Robinson already has his board out, preparing to give us an update on time added on. And a few delays, the Doucouré offside goal and the Gordon penalty. Might see a bit of time tacked on here. It's Tonali just inside the centre circle, finds Gordon on the centre spot for Newcastle. Guimaraes immediately closed down though by Ndai. Kieran Trippier just spots some space for Gordon to run into. Keane gets across. Cover it in at left back behind. Ashley Young does well there. Michael Keane. Gordon looked as if he had the beating of him in the channel, but he slides in, concedes the throw in. Trippier will come all the way forward from right back, level with the edge of the Everton penalty area. Needs options in front of him here. He's got Tonali to aim for. When she goes for Guimaraes, so we'll have a bit of a wrestle here with Dwight McNeil. It's the Brazilian who wins out, and McNeil brings him down. And we are going to have ourselves the first caution of the game. McNeil was always struggling to deal with Guimaraes there. He wasn't going to give up the battle, the former Burnley man. That's just a swipe across Guimaraes and a clear foul and a clear booking. As we tick towards time added on, a bit more defending for Everton to do. Free kick to Newcastle. Midway inside the Everton half of the field on this near right-hand side. Kieran Trippier's got this placed, and he'll look to bend this one in towards that back post with plenty of height in there. Burn, Hall, all positioned. It's delivered in deep by Trippier, nodded down by Burn. Everton get numbers around him. Cool, calm and collected though by James Tarkowski, just to dodge a tackle and clear it away up to the halfway line. Sean Dyche out on the edge of his technical area, roaring his players on to half-time. Long ball forward, just knocked away on the edge of the box by Keane, and Ashley Young will complete the clearance. Claiming a foul there, Young. The referee disagrees though. Both managers will be relatively happy with what they've seen so far. Pretty contained and solid defensive performance from Everton. Sean Dyche will be pleased with that. Joelinton breaks into the box, but Keane gets across. And the final touch initially looked as if it did come off Joelinton. James Tarkowski got caught out by the bounce of the ball there. Michael Keane claiming that it came off Joelinton first, and it did indeed. That'll be a goal kick. Or will it? The referee asked an assistant. Yes, he is sticking with his original decision. That was all a bit unnecessary. Goal kick to Everton. 6 minutes added on at the end of the first half here at Goodison Park, where there's been a huge slice of drama. Villain of the piece, Anthony Gordon, denied from the penalty spot by Jordan Pickford. The Toffees look to get themselves over the line. Still level at the break. They've got some work to do here. Kieran Trippier bombing forward from right back, and Dye will track him and get there before Harvey Barnes, who'd sprinted across from the left to back up Trippier. It falls for Tonali. Gordon tried to dip away from a tackle there inside the box, but it's cleared away by Tarkowski. It'll be a throw in to Newcastle, right up on the halfway line on the near right-hand side. Cher will take that one quickly. Kieran Trippier there just signalling to the referee that he is in a bit of discomfort, but I think he's going to soldier on until the break. Given away inside the centre circle though by Guimaraes, but Anthony Gordon buzzes in there, wins back possession. He's caught by Doucouré. Play on, says the referee. Tonali needs options down this right-hand side. Gets it through Trippier. Now Guimaraes tracked across to this near right-hand side by Dwight McNeil. Murphy, Trippier, Tonali. Everton working overtime here to keep Newcastle at bay, get themselves in at half-time. The score tied at 0-0. Slightly loose ball out from the back by Nick Pope there, but Dan Burn just sniffs it out in front of Jack Harrison. Now Joelinton does well to get away from Garner, racing in from that left-hand side. Mangala gets his body in front of him. Clever play there from Oriol Mangala. Just drew the foul from Joelinton, although the referee saw it differently. He's allowed Newcastle to play on, but it's back inside the visitors' half of the field. Cher, Trippier. And Dye will just come up and put the squeeze on Trippier inside his own half, and another long ball forward just drifts its way into the grateful hands of Jordan Pickford. Newcastle conjure up something in the final few minutes of added time here. They've got to do better with that. Guimaraes and Gordon not quite on the same wavelength, and McNeil nips in on the halfway line for Everton. Good protection of possession by Jack Harrison over on that far side. Knows he doesn't need to force the issue for the moment. Keane will try and find him this time with a big switch. Nice touch there from Harrison, but it was just pinched off his toe by Hall. Tonali tried to feed that on to Trippier, who spotted a space in behind Ndiaye, but Ndiaye did really well to read the situation and skips away from Trippier. Ndiaye trying to break on. Trippier gets back though. Tonali will eventually win the tussle as Ashley Young comes crashing into the Italian. Throw into Newcastle. Just a little glimmer there of what Iliman Ndiaye can do if there's space in front of him. Kieran Trippier though showed a bit of his experience to get back in and put a stop to his gallop. Here is Trippier on the throw-in, just on the edge of his own 18-yard box. Byrne will feed it over to that far left-hand side with Lewis Hall. Now Barnes, immediately under pressure and forced backwards by James Garner. Good work there from Garner to press the Newcastle winger back into his own final third. Play from Newcastle to break the Everton press there, and Guimaraes will advance it over the halfway line. Little 1-2 with Gordon. Space on this near side for Murphy if he can spot him. He does. Trippier will bomb past him on the overlap. Murphy hangs it in. Gordon with the header, and it's hooked over the bar by Joelinton. And Gordon was caught in two minds there. Initially he fancied his chances of testing Pickford, but just tried to help it back down onto the 6-yard line for Joelinton. Neither option really working out for him. Body shape probably not right to head that down on goal. Just tried to make the best of the situation and find Joelinton, but Brazilian not able to hook that back round. Little scare for Everton as we move into the final seconds of the first half. Pickford's goal kick just helped on its way by Dominic Calvert-Lewin. McNeil will pick it up on this near left-hand side and go for the corner. Kieran Trippier makes the block though. Craig Pawson checks his watch, and that is the half-time whistle here at Goodison Park, where there's only one story in town, and his name, as expected, is Anthony Gordon. Chances at both ends, and denying Bruno Guimaraes, and then VAR denying Abdoulaye Doucouré. But the big news at the break is Pickford 1, Gordon 0. The England stopper denying the return in Toffee from the penalty spot to keep the scores level at the break. And as we go in for the interval here on Flashscore, it is Everton 0, Newcastle 0. as we strap ourselves in. What should be a fascinating second half here on the blue side of Merseyside. Long ball played forward, just headed back by Ashley Young into the gloves of Jordan Pickford, so we can run through the continuing starting 11s. Pickford in goal for Everton, James Garner, James Tarkowski, Michael Keane and Ashley Young at the back for the hosts. Abdoulaye Doucouré and Oriol Mangala in midfield, with Jack Harrison, Dwight McNeil, Iliman Ndiaye and Dominic Calvert-Lewin in attack. We'll go through the Newcastle team in just a second here, because Magpies are breaking away down the left-hand side. Barnes tries to feed Joe Linton, but he's forced backwards. Barnes will come again, though, up against Doucouré. Dwight McNeil gets a foot in on the edge of the box, but Barnes will battle away with James Garner defending to do for the standing Everton right back, and he wins a goal kick off Barnes. So the Newcastle team: Nick Pope in goal, Kieran Trippier, Fabian Schär, Dan Burn and Lewis Hall in defence, Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton in midfield, Barnes, Jacob Murphy and Anthony Gordon in attack. If you're just joining us at the break, the big news from the first 45 minutes: Jordan Pickford denies Anthony Gordon from the penalty spot. There's a VAR call after James Tarkowski pulled Sandro Tonali to the floor inside the box, but Pickford came out on top against the former Everton man. And the score remains Everton 0, Newcastle 0. Ndiaye goes down there, 20 yards from the Newcastle goal. He thought he was caught. Referee says no, and there's a breakaway here for Newcastle. It's going to be Gordon that leads the charge down the right-hand side. Steps away from Young. Can he find a cross in? He does. Dink to the far post. Joe Linton will keep that alive. Tonali block back for Joe Linton. Can he find a pass? Pickford screaming for an offside there. Nothing doing from the officials. Everton just scramble it away up to the halfway line. And eventually the whistle does go. Jordan Pickford furious about that. We've seen quite a few of these in the game so far, of delayed offside calls. A chance here for Everton to make some ground down the right-hand side. Harrison feeds in and Ndiaye trying a little cheeky back heel there, but it doesn't come off. Newcastle can get back in position and clear away. Tempo really stepping up a gear from an Everton perspective. They were looking to dig in and get over the line before the half-time whistle. Refreshed in the opening minutes of the second half. It's going to be a throw-in over on that far side. Dominic Calvert-Lewin just battling away with Kieran Trippier. Ashley Young takes it quickly, just goes backwards to Mangala, who'll come back towards the halfway line with James Tarkowski. Can of course update you, if you're staying with us here this evening on Flash Score, that we've got one more live audio coverage this evening. 8 PM UK kickoff between Real Madrid and Villarreal, second against third in La Liga, to wrap up your Saturday night. Newcastle try and storm forward here down the left. Lewis Hall's got Harvey Barnes advancing beyond him, but there's a bit too much on that pass, and Everton will get numbers back. Garner and Harrison. Eventually throwing goes against Harvey Barnes. Really good defensive work there. 3 Everton players herring back in there to help out. The longer this game goes on with no goal, one chance, one mistake could prove absolutely crucial. Pickford just goes route one with that loose ball on the edge of his box, smashes it across field, and Kieran Trippier will see it out of play over at right back for Newcastle. Pickford there, just asking the referee to give him a moment. He looked as if he tweaked something with that clearance, but he's okay now. Newcastle get us back underway. Lewis Hall will fire that one down the left-hand side, and Joe Linton will give chase, and he's got the better of Mangala here. Tried the cut back to Gordon inside the box, but Tarkowski gets there first. Corner to Newcastle. Such a willing runner, Joe Linton. Too powerful for Mangala there. On into the 6-yard box, but really good positioning from Tarkowski to get across and get a foot in. There's a bit of a joke there between Mangala and Gimmo Rice in the aftermath. Joe Linton put the afterburners on there to get away from the Everton man, and he's grateful that his captain stepped in. Corner to be taken off this left-hand side from Trippier. Hangs it into the far post. Pickford comes. He only gets half a hand on that one, and it will bounce out for a corner. Such a good fortune there from Pickford, because he came and didn't get a clean connection. I think, in fact, the assistant referee has changed his mind and gone for a goal kick. John Linton went up for the header. He claimed that Pickford touched it last. Pickford claims the opposite, and it is a goal kick to Everton. Loose ball just played across the Everton penalty area there, and Ashley Young almost played himself into trouble. Tonali not able to take advantage, and he loses out to Mangala. Space for Ndiaye to run into now, with Kieran Trippier caught up field, but Gimmo Rice steams across there to cover at right back for Newcastle. Good work from the Brazilian. Magpies will now switch it to the left hand side, try and give themselves something to break for. Lewis Hall just swirls that cross in, but it's over the bar. Tried to take it early, the Newcastle left back. He had space to go into behind Garner. Obviously be interesting what the possible changes could be as we move into the final half an hour here. Both managers resisting temptation at the break, but if this continues as it is, I might look for a bit of attacking thrust off the bench. Beto and Lindstrom the likely options for Everton. Newcastle, as Dwight McNeil just drags that one well wide of the post from about 25-30 yards. He fancied his chances, and on the back of last weekend with a couple of crackers, who could blame him, but it was never in danger of troubling Nick Pope. Osula, Almiron would be the likely candidates for Newcastle. Pickford clears up towards the halfway line. Good wing there from Young against Jacob Murphy. Michael Keane will pick up the loose ball on the centre circle. Mangala back to Young at left back for Everton. No Branthwaite on the bench for Everton this evening. Sean Dyche opting to rest and rotate. He's only just back in the team, the towering centre back. Groin surgery over the summer meant that he wasn't fit enough to start, and he only played his first Premier League game last weekend against Crystal Palace, so good sensible work from Sean Dyche to protect him. Hasn't been called up for England duty for the incoming Nations League games, but Sean Dyche will be hoping to use the break to get some extra rest into him. Harvey Barnes tangling and tussling here. Does eventually win a free kick just inside his own half of the field. The Newcastle left winger. And Everton are preparing a change. Get an update on that in a moment. Sean Dyche deep in conversation with his coaching staff. It looks as if it's going to be Idrissa Gana Gueye. He's prepared for the final 30. Here's Gordon, does well to step away from James Garner, can't find the return ball, but Guimaraes will pick it up, and Guimaraes will curl that one. A rushed effort from the Brazilian. Him and Gordon rather got in each other's way on the edge of the Everton penalty area. Twinkle toes here from Gordon as the switch came to him on the Newcastle left-hand side. James Garner was isolated, couldn't commit himself. Gordon went for the 1-2 with Joe Linton, but it was overhit the return, and Guimaraes took over on the edge of the box. Pickford happy to just wave that one over the crossbar into the stands behind him. And we are going to see this change made, and it is going to be Gay who comes on to replace Mangala. Straight swap in the Everton midfield. Mangala was caught out by Joe Linton just a few moments ago as he burst past him en route into the Everton penalty area, so maybe Sean Dyche just looking to ensure that level of work rate doesn't drop in his engine room. Pickford goes long with the goal kick. Calvert-Lewin climbing with Dan Burn, but it's Burn who wins out. Up to the halfway line, but Tarkowski will try and fizz that back in, headed away by Lewis Hall. A bit of pinball there as Everton pick back up possession on the edge of the centre circle in their half. First touch for Gay alongside Doucouré in that Everton midfield. Garner, James that is, can win the throw in from Anthony Gordon. Right on the halfway line, the Everton right back. Standing in today, of course, Ashley Young started there last weekend. He's over on the left tonight. Seamus Coleman, Nathan Patterson, both still injured. He's been a real utility player for Sean Dyche over the last 12 months, the former Manchester United player. Covers in midfield, full back whenever he's needed. He's put in a good shift so far, and that battle with Harvey Barnes has been a key feature. Twist there from Iliman Ndiaye on the halfway line. Manages to rag himself away from Kieran Trippier. Needs support though on that far left touchline. Gets it from Calvert-Lewin, and that is poor from Everton's number 9. Ndiaye deserved better there. He did all the hard yard, just needed a little wall pass on the touchline from Calvert-Lewin. Newcastle can build away themselves down this left-hand side. Gordon gallops over the halfway line, wants to get one-on-one with Garner. Harrison will jog across to lend a hand. Newcastle try the right-hand side this time. Murphy pinned to the touchline on that far right-hand side, level with the penalty area. Tenale against Garner Gay. Keane will get it away inside the Everton penalty area. Kieran Trippier, though, keeps the pressure up for Newcastle. Another tussle again between Garner and Gordon. There's been a bit of a tweak in the last few minutes from Newcastle. Anthony Gordon's come over to this near left-hand side. Barnes has moved centrally. Eddie Howe just trying something different to try and force a way through for Newcastle. Here's Ndiaye with space to attack down the left-hand side. Just hangs that cross in, and Harrison will work hard and keep it alive by the corner flag. Now Doucouré rolls it to the edge of the area. Garner Gay just thrashes that one into the stands behind Nick Pope's goal. Eddie Howe has just given the shout to a few of his substitutes to come in. Might be seeing a bit of a reshuffle for the Magpies in the next few minutes. As Lewis Hall just fizzes that one up to the halfway line. Joe Linton will knock it down for Guimaraes. Good work there from the 3 Newcastle midfielders. Tenale lends a hand, and that's almost a lovely spread It's Kieran Trippier, bomb forward from right back, but it skid out of play for a throw into Everton in their left back zone, just inside the host half of the field. Eventually, Pickford once more will go long with the clearance. Trippier gets there before Calvert-Lewin on the halfway line. We are going to see that Newcastle change now as we go beyond the 60-minute mark. Rice gives away a cheap free kick on the halfway line, and Jordan Pickford fancies a wander. It could be Miguel Almiron to come on for Newcastle, but he's going to have to wait for this free kick to be taken. Pickford again, 5 yards inside his own half of the field on that left-hand side. Pretty much everybody in Everton blue piled forward for this one. Pickford will loft it in towards Tarkowski, but it'll just bounce through for a throw-in. Tarkowski and Keane well marshalled there, but Pickford sticks his hand up in apology. Wasn't the best ball from the England number one. There is the change for Newcastle. Barnes off, Almiron on. Be a relatively straightforward swap. Almiron can play either side of front three. Looks as if he's going to start on the right, with Anthony Gordon through the middle. Jacob Murphy has now shuffled over to the left for the time being. We'll keep an eye on that as it develops. The wasteful ball forward from defence, just clean into the gloves of Jordan Pickford, and become increasingly scrappy since the start of the second half of this game. Newcastle's fluidity has dropped off, and that sporadic threat that Everton did carry just not really standing them in good stead in the second period, but still plenty of time. Gordon tries to wriggle away from a couple of tackles just inside the Everton half of the field. Does well to keep possession. Lewis Hall now backs him up, finds Jacob Murphy, who's moved over to this left-hand side. Everton eventually force Newcastle back. Byrne, Guimaraes, Joe Linton inside the centre circle for the visitors. Again, the big spread over to Trippier, who's pushed forward from right back. And Dye will keep him out there for now, though. Trippier will get support here from Tonali. Chance for Trippier to cross, but he's quickly closed down again by Ndiaye. Poor pass there from Tonali. Gay will clip it up to the halfway line, but Byrne rises above Calvert-Lewin. Seen very, very little of the Everton centre forward this evening. Can be a frustrating role that he plays as he finds himself alone for huge swathes of the game, but when the ball has made its way up to him today, he's found it tough going against Schär and Byrne. Newcastle now with it. Chance to step on the gas down the left-hand side. Bit more space opening up in the last few minutes as Everton try and chase around and plug gaps. Keep Newcastle at arm's length. Guimaraes, space to turn. Midway inside the Everton half of the field. Just left of centre, the Brazilian international. We've got another Everton change being lined up on the far side of the field. Check in on that in just a moment. Good play here from Newcastle as Trippier tries to post that into Almiron. He'll go to the byline, deflected by Keane, and Pickford just smuggles it behind. And Pickford with a few choice words for his defenders there. Good pace from Miguel Almiron all the way to the byline. Michael Keane gets a little nick on it, and Pickford has to readjust at his near post to see it behind for a corner. It's the first bit of goalmouth action we've seen for a while here. As Gordon goes low from the corner, flicked on by Tonali, got away by Everton, only as far as the edge of the area. The chance here if Van Dijk can get there first. As Trippier just helps it all the way back to Nick Pope. And despite Newcastle controlling the majority of the game in the second half, that pace on the counter that Everton do have, particularly through Iliman Ndiaye, means that if they do get themselves a chance to run at this Newcastle defence, particularly Burn and Schär, they might have themselves a chance. Kieran Trippier has moved over to left back now as Newcastle try something a little different. It's given away though by Tonali, on into Calvert-Lewin inside the box. He get a shot off. Great save, Nick Pope. Calvert-Lewin again, and Gana Gueye has missed it. Calvert-Lewin wants a penalty. So do the Everton players. And Craig Pawson's got a decision to make here. It was sloppy from Tonali, 25 yards from his own goal. Possession pinched away from him. Dwight McNeil to Calvert-Lewin inside the box. He forces the save from Pope. And there's a collision between Calvert-Lewin and the gigantic figure of Dan Burn. Calvert-Lewin's claiming that he was pulled to the floor as he tried to get a second shot off. Big strong hand there from Nick Pope for the initial stop. Gana Gueye won't want to see that again. It sat up perfectly for him 6 yards out, and he smashed it over the crossbar. But that's all irrelevant now. That's Craig Pawson has got the word in his ear. But we will wait and see if there is to be a VAR review. Dan Burn has taken himself out of the equation. Dominic Calvert-Lewin furious that that's not being checked. There's a tangle of legs as Calvert-Lewin goes to take a swing at it. We have been shown a replay or two here. It does appear that Calvert-Lewin kicks Dan Burn. Not easy getting away from those long legs inside the box. Burn catches him as they go down. That first contact does look as if Calvert-Lewin, as he tries to have another hack at it, catches Burn. And there'll be no video review and there'll be no penalty for Everton. There will be a change though. Jack Harrison is off and Tim Iriga-Burnham is on for Everton. Newcastle are trying to get a change of their own made. Craig Pawson will allow it. Jacob Murphy off, Joe Willock on. So a change apiece there. Iriga-Burnham on. Murphy off. Willock on. I beg your pardon. Willock on, Murphy off for Newcastle. Iriga-Burnham on, Harrison off for Everton. 20 minutes to go. And plenty more twists and turns, you would imagine. Dinked into the box towards McNeil. Lewis Hall did really well there on the penalty spot. Just gets across, covers for Dan Burn. And Newcastle can make gains down the left-hand side. Joe Linton on to Willock. Gets away from Garner, goes to ground. And Garner races back and he'll get there before the substitute. Looked as if there was going to be a foul against the Everton right back there, but the referee says no. Gana Gueye did really well to sort his feet out there on the edge of his own penalty area with Guimaraes snapping around at his heels. The Everton fans fancy there's more to come here. Lovely feet from Ndiaye on that far left-hand side. Just dips away from a couple of Newcastle challenges. Gueye into the feet of Doucouré. He's pushed forward a little more now as McNeil hits one. Zips past the post again. Kieran Trippier signalling over to the Newcastle bench that he needs to come off here. He's not looked comfortable in the last few minutes. The experienced fullback, he's Found himself in plenty of battles this evening, Kieran Trippier. He's done well at what's been thrown in front of him, but he won't be continuing in this one for the final 15 minutes or so. And the board has already gone up. Eddie Howe not taking any chances. Tino Livramento will take his place in the Newcastle defence. Sean Longstaff is already readied. He'll be thrown on in the next moment or two. But that is the end of the evening for Kieran Trippier. We'll just see if Livramento goes straight in at right back. You imagine he will, with Hall staying over at left back. Tonale, that's a straight swap in the midfield for Newcastle with Longstaff. Trippier and Tonale off. Longstaff, Livramento on. Just over 15 minutes of normal time, plus whatever gets added on by the referee Craig Pawson. Will there be one more chance at either end? Here's Fabian Schär. Fizzes it over to that far right hand side. Livramento lets it run and he'll gamble on it now. Tries to go with the early ball into the box. Gordon just beaten to it by Tarkowski, and it's smashed past the post by Almiron. Bounced up a little awkwardly for the Paraguayan inside the box. Gordon couldn't collect it in. He's so good in them situations. Miguel Almiron, always busy in and around the 18-yard box, and it took a touch off Tarkowski, so that will be a corner to Newcastle. Over on the right-hand side, Hall will go over to take. Curls it in near post, headed away by Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Worked eventually back up to the halfway line. Livramento decides just to go for the safe pass back to Nick Pope. The offside flag is up eventually. Everton defensive line doing well there just to step up and squeeze the pitch as the Magpies try to go a little bit more direct in behind. The throw-in on the halfway line over on that far side for Ashley Young. Headed on by Calvert-Lewin, and Dye loses out though to Livramento. Good work from Newcastle to keep this going, and there's men over on the left hand side. If Joe Linton can carry it over the halfway line, he's got Lewis Hall racing on beyond him. Back to Joe Linton to the byline, cuts it back, well dealt with again by Everton. It was Yediga Burnham on the near post there, this time for the Blues. Not the first time we've seen Newcastle race away down the left, and James Garner needs help here. Joe Linton, now Longstaff. Imagine Guimaraes should be given a bit more licence to push forward now with Longstaff on. Substitute happy to sit in there in front of Byrne and Schär and allow Guimaraes to try and pick the lock in the final stages. Here's Joe Linton. He'll have a run at James Garner down the Newcastle left. Garner goes with him. Really good defending from the Everton number 37. Just waited, bided his time. Wins the ball back, but it's immediately given away as he tries to go long to Calvert-Lewin. Tough afternoon for Calvert-Lewin, as we mentioned. It's not been too many chances. He's just had that one big opening about 5 minutes ago and drew a good save from Nick Pope. He felt he should have had a penalty. We've seen a few replays of the incident, and it looks inconclusive at best. It's a tangle of legs between himself and Dan Byrne, and he does appear to kick Byrne as he tries to steer the rebound back towards the goal. And Craig Pawson, who's already given one penalty today, never looked as if he was going to give a second one for that. As Anthony Gordon just buffeted off it there by Ashley Young. Another roar from the home crowd. He responded well to that spot kick that he missed in the first half, Anthony Gordon. Not his best effort from 12 yards, and slightly strange stop from Jordan Pickford to keep him out, but as it stands, that's still the clearest either team have come to a breakthrough. Here's Bruno Guimaraes, space to just feed that back over to the far right-hand side with Almiron. Livramento will go beyond him, and cross is deflected behind for a corner. Newcastle will bring the big guns forward once more. Corner again, well dealt with by Calvert-Lewin, back there doing his defensive duty on the front post, and Garner Gay will win the tussle on the left hand side and tried to lead the breakout, but it's going to be a throw in. Joe Willett gets across to block him off. Sean Dyche gesticulating at his players in front of him. He knows they've given everything so far, and if they could find one moment in attack, this place will erupt. Here's James Tarkowski, happy to take the ball off Jordan Pickford on the edge of the 18-yard box for Everton. Pickford just waits for Gordon to come and put him under a bit of pressure, goes into midfield, and Everton will build away down the right-hand side. Garner loses out to Joe Linton on the halfway line, though. Throw into Everton. Dwight McNeil just swings that back into his own half to Michael Keane. Dinks it on to Iliman Ndiaye, who wants to get a run at Livramento here, and he will do just that. Good foot in, though, from Almiron. One winger reading the other's intentions there. We tick in towards the final 10 minutes here. The noise will ramp up. So too will the expectation. Chance for somebody to be a match winner. Based on the way that Everton have responded in the last few minutes, it could come at either end. That's a really good challenge from James Garner. The Everton defence just pushed up a little too high. Joe Linton had space to break into in behind him. Concedes the corner. He was on his own there, Garner. Committed to it, and he did really, really well. Joe Linton was away. If he doesn't make that tackle and time it to perfection, possibly the referee has indicated that there was a flag just after, and there was. Shouldn't take away from what was a really good bit of defending, though, from Everton's right back for this evening, James Garner. Pickford with the free kick. Goes long again up towards Calvert-Lewin, but again just skids through to his opposite number, Pope. Bowls it out to Livramento, who'll race over the halfway line. Almiron backs him up over on that Newcastle right. Longstaff tries to take it in his stride, but it's a poor touch from the Newcastle substitute. Garner Gay dribbling into trouble there, but he does win a throw in again over in the Everton left back spot. More substitutes from both managers being sent out to warm up, so The changes might not have come to an end just yet. It depends on what's in the minds of the two managers. The cautiousness of Sean Dyche would indicate that a point against a difficult opponent, albeit at home, is not something he'd be too downhearted about, but possibility to roll the dice, throw an attacking player on and try and give Newcastle something different to think about. For Newcastle, their injuries mean that options are a bit more limited off the bench for the Magpies, and Almiron, Longstaff already on. Asula could possibly be called upon by Howe. Dan Burn just puts his studs on the ball halfway inside his own half of the field. Thought about the long raker over to Livramento, but again just keeps possession into the centre circle now with Longstaff. Needs runners around him. Pops that one through the lines to Almiron, and Gordon's got space in behind here. Chance here for Anthony Gordon. Wasted by Anthony Gordon. There was room in that right channel for him to manoeuvre himself into. I don't think he was offside. James Sharkowski playing him on in the middle. The angle was against him. But he should be testing Jordan Pickford from that type of situation. He blazed it over the top, the former Everton man. He found himself front row and centre of everything this evening. The best chance of the first half denied by Pickford, and Newcastle's best chance of the second half. Blazed over the top by the England winger. Here's Ndiaye, lovely feet to get away from Lewis Hall down the right for Everton. Bounces back to Ndiaye. Can he find the ball in? He does. Falls for McNeil, who just fluffed his chance at the far post. The man in form for Everton just looked to be dropping perfectly on his left foot, and he just couldn't get the contact that he wanted. Head in hands moment for the Everton number 7. Brilliant again for Emilia Ndiaye. The first ball in wasn't his best, but he just stands it up, spots the run of Dwight McNeil, who snuck in behind Abdoulaye Doucouré. McNeil watches it all the way. Possibly just tried to overcook it as it came to him. And are we going to see the game open up as we move into the final 5 minutes? Long ball forward, and Gordon will give chase to James Garner in the Everton right back spot, but Ndiaye's there to help out, and he's pulled to the floor by Lewis Hall. It's going to be a caution for Hall. Craig Pawson just telling Iliman Ndiaye to hold fire for a moment with the free kick. Must have a quick word with Lewis Hall. Clear foul from the Newcastle left back. Really good close control from Ndiaye to skip away from him. Just clipped in again, direct towards the edge of the Newcastle box, but Calvert-Lewin at the second attempt does manage to gather that in, finds Dwight McNeil, who slipped over to that left hand side, back into Calvert-Lewin, tried to steer it across the 6-yard box, but the big boot of Dan Burn gets it away for Newcastle. Livramento battling away with McNeil. He's drifted over to that left hand side in the last few minutes. He tries to make a bit more of an impact on the game. Had his big moment just a few seconds ago. Will he get another chance? Willock will go up against Garner. Down the Newcastle left, blocked. Garner does well to stop that spinning behind for a corner, but it will be a throw in to Newcastle. Lewis Hall will race forward from left back to take. Longstaff, Guimaraes. Space here for Willock if he can find the cutback. Pickford dives, makes the block. Tarkowski was covering the area at the far post. The offside flag. Again, a little tardy, but does go up against Joe Willock. He was offside there. James Garner pushed up in line with James Tarkowski. Pickford wasn't to know that, of course. We're going to have another Jordan Pickford hoof downfield. Gets so much distance on those kicks, Jordan Pickford, when he winds up that left foot of his, but they've struggled to make it stick in attack tonight. Everton, Calvert-Lewin battled away with Cher and Byrne. Hasn't got too much reward on the other end. Here comes Livramento. Good feet there to get away from a couple of challenges. Over the halfway line, on to Guimaraes. Now Joe Linton. There's players in front of him. And Almiron wants it, steers it goal, but Tarkowski gets back to make the block. Almiron was screaming for the pass. And when it came to him, maybe just a fraction behind it, Newcastle substitute, and he couldn't get enough power on it. Tarkowski back in position to make the block, though. And we are opening up as you go into the final 3 minutes of normal time here at Goodison Park. We'll be with you to the end on Flash Score. No goals as yet. Everton 0, Newcastle 0. Here's Joe Willock. Sprays it back into the middle of the Everton half with Bruno Guimaraes. Longstaff just tiptoes over to the right-hand touchline with Livramento. Backed up by Cher. Everybody but Nick Pope now pushed up into the Everton half of the field. Newcastle dominated possession here in both the first and the second half. It's been pretty clear in that particular metric, 67% to 33%. The Gordon penalty miss, or the Gordon penalty save rather, was the big chance at either end. Calvert-Lewin kept out by Pope. Gordon missed another good chance in the second period as well, and if it stays as it is, his frustration back on Merseyside will be the big talking point. Tarkowski goes shoulder to shoulder with Joe Linton over by the corner flag. There's a foul against the Newcastle man. Might be a little bit fortunate there, James Tarkowski. Big smile on the face of Joe Linton. Everton skipper claiming there was a push rather than a shoulder, and possibly a little nudge in the back. Can't really have too many complaints there. I think Joe Linton, he maybe just leant into the back of Tarkowski as he slipped away from him. He, of course, disagrees. 90 seconds of the 90 left here at Goodison. Pickford again, booms one into the sky. Calvert-Lewin will go up against Byrne. Drops for Garner Gay. Now Iliman Ndiaye, who tries to wriggle away from Dan Byrne down this near right-hand side. Byrne sticks to the task, though. Concedes the throw-in. James Garner wants to take that quickly. Good block in there, though, by Lewis Hall on the corner of the Newcastle penalty area. Good calmness under pressure there from Lewis Hall in quick succession. Just pops it into the feet of Joe Linton. Now Livramento can attack down the Newcastle right into Joe Linton. Just arrowed that one across Jordan Pickford's goal. Pickford with a dive for the cameras. And that was ever really troubling him. We'll just have to wait and see how much additional time will be tacked on here now. Final few nervy moments for Howe and Dyche to sit through, or stand through. They haven't really been in their respective dugouts for much of this game. Pickford with the goal kick. Calvert-Lewin again against Byrne. Byrne wins out once more though. 4 minutes added on. Potential for one of these sides to snatch a winner. Here's Garner Gate just over the halfway line. Spots Ashley Young on that far side. Goes for the safe pass to the veteran. Now back to Keane, Pickford. Tarkowski now will split that over to the far side to McNeil. Lovely touch from Everton's number 7. Into the feet of Decorah. He's got space on the edge of the box. Feeds it off to Garner Gay. Garner Gay was caught there. He wanted a free kick. Referee says no. Good tackle by Iriga Burnham. But it falls in Newcastle's favour inside the centre circle. Now Willock over the halfway line. 1 minute of the additional 4 has been played. Guimaraes, Joe Linton. Anthony Gordon tries to nick away possession, but he eventually loses out. Combination of Garner Gay and McNeil. Not been a happy return for Anthony Gordon. Plenty of Evertonians in attendance this evening, delighted by that fact. Certainly not a favoured son anymore. Livramento will try and hang across into the box, deflected, almost fell for Joe Linton. Tarkowski just threw his body in there to make sure the Newcastle number 7 didn't get a shot. It's given away by Hall. And Everton have got a chance here. And Ndai just couldn't get that pass down the right correct, and Byrne will nip in. Byrne again with the ball forward. Well read by James Tarkowski on the edge of Everton's box. Nice touch on the halfway line as Calvert-Lewin tries to make the best of it. Does well to beat Bruno Guimaraes, and he's caught there, Calvert-Lewin, as he went forward. There's going to be a card here. A deliberate foul for Fabian Schär. Calvert-Lewin never looked in control of that one, but he made things awkward for the Newcastle centre-back. And there will be one final chance for Everton. 30 yards from goal here, dead centre. A clear foul, that from Fabian Schär. Calvert-Lewin just trying to get away from a couple of tackles, and he was caught rather cynically by the Swiss international. Big question here for Everton. Probably be who is going to take it. Young, Garner Gay, James Garner all in attendance. Jordan Pickford has taken most of their free kicks today, but they've been inside his own half of the field. I don't think he'll be marching forward to take this one. He's smack bang within shooting range. The direct line to Nick Pope's goal, if Everton can get this one right. They do prefer to cross in set-piece situations, but there's not really an angle to do that here. It looks as if it's going to be Dwight McNeil to take a swing at this with his left foot. He's certainly lining this one up. Have Everton got something clever planned here? Or is Dwight McNeil just going to go for goal? Leaves it for James Garner, and Garner curls that over the crossbar. A huge build-up and no end result from an Everton perspective. Sean Dyche screaming at his players to get back in position, see out the final seconds. We're over the 4 minutes that were originally added on, so we're into time added on the end of added time. It's the chance for one more roll of the dice. You might go to 95 minutes here. Dan Byrne slings that over to the far right-hand side, and that will go over the head of Tino Livramento and into the hands of a couple of Everton fans over on that far side. They'll just wait for Ashley Young to come over and take this.